Peace, family out there. This is Chanel. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another Food for Thought Sundays. Tonight we're going to be discussing. Peace, family out there. This is Chanel. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another Food for Thought Sundays. Tonight we're going to be discussing. My apologies, family. Give me a second. I'm having a little some technical difficulties over here. I'm gonna keep the icon up. The show is still on. Just let me take care of something. Okay, we good. We back again. Peace, family. This is Chanel. Thank you for tuning in to another Food for Thought Sundays. Tonight, our discussion will be 17th to 19th century Black African pioneers. We seen recent videos with the brother True Historian. Shout out to MBK. He did a great video on Octavius Cotto. Um, it seems like this segment of our history seems to kind of get glossed over. We get a one or two um, African American figures during this time. The Booker T's, the W.B. Du Bois. Not saying that there's not others. It's just that I know for me myself, I never really learned of anyone other than Booker T when I came up in school. But individual men like Octavius Cotto to be 32 years old and accomplish some of the things that he was able to accomplish for his people. Not for any monetary gain or for any type of fame, strictly for the betterment of the next generation coming behind him. Unfortunately, he was gunned down. There's a statue in Philadelphia where you can go see how they remember this great man, Octavius Cotto. Um, so tonight I wanted to build, I also wanted to compliment a book. Again, Brother Danny showed it was Negroes in the American Revolution. I believe that's what it's called. I also want to highlight another book by an individual named William Neal. The book is called Color Patriots in the American Revolution. Great, primary, secondary source account of, Black Africans who fought in the Revolutionary War, not only for the British, but for the Patriot side, the American side. So with the book by Benjamin Quarles, The Negro in the American Revolution, you see a lot more detailed accounts of Blacks fleeing from their slave masters to the British side. He highlights that well. With Neal's book, I believe he kind of only talked about Black Africans who went to fight for the American side. But I just want to highlight that. That's another kind of segue to what we want to talk about tonight. Is that's another representation of a part of our history. If it wasn't for, Danny showing us that or me getting that history, I would have never known about it. So I think these individuals needs just as much discussion as Booker T or W.B. Du Bois or Egypt, some Assyrian scrolls. This is just as important. I would rather spend more time talking about these ancestors than some biblical or Abrahamic, flim. Not to be disrespectful, but I just want to be honest. So tonight, I'm gonna share in the back chat with the fam, so people, fam can come on in. Definitely want to be an interesting bill. I definitely have a few, one organization that I want to highlight in particular. That organization is the National Afro-American League. And this is predating the NAACP. So at first, on the start of the show, I started off with talking about, William Neal, who wrote the book, Color Patriots in the American Revolution. I want to highlight another author, abolitionist by the name of Timothy Thomas Fortune. Timothy Thomas Fortune, he's born in the late 1800s, mid 1800s, but he was a civil rights leader, journalist, editor, and a publisher. And he started an organization called the National Afro-American League. And this league was created to better the situations for African Americans in this country, i.e., getting rid of slavery, the Fugitive Slave Act. They were trying to get these things abolished, to get our people on an equal footing with other individuals, Europeans that was in this country. So, and this is 1890 when he founds the National Afro-American League, predating the NAACP. But later on, you see how the two end up connecting. After a while, with the National Afro-American League, because of funding, he kind of had to resolve the league and have it transformed. So he linked over a brother in New York by the name of Alexander Waters. Now, Alexander Waters was a bishop in the Black church, the AME Zion Church. He was a bishop. So he linked up with that brother. So let me go into Alexander Waters a little bit. He definitely was one of the first bishops in the AME Zion Church. His brother was an educated brother, and he wanted to assist in formulating ways to build a better society for our people. Definitely was heavy into the civil rights movement. And also he was a leader of a church. So again, we see the organizational factor, not the ideology, but the organizational factor of the Black church playing a key role in kind of evolving this organization. So Alexander Waters, he continues on. He names it the National Afro-American Council. And in this National Afro-American Council, he brings on a few people to help him run it. One of those people was Sister Ida B. Wells. And we know Sister Ida B. Wells, she's a well-known, heavy in the civil rights movement, a great journalist, sociologist. And she also was one of the individuals who was highlighting and documenting the lynchings that was going on in America at the time. Now, mind you, 40, I believe it, I want to give the, a rounded number. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I believe 4,700 lynchings happened between 18 something and 1964 or 1965. That's a lot of thousands of people died at the hands of a rope or a chain or whatever, hideous tool used by, these Europeans to do to us. So she helps document. There's a book by Hilton Ellis called Without Sanctuary. A lot of the photography showing, kind of categorizing it by age, location, some of these lynchings. If you haven't seen the book before, I would recommend having it. It's a great pictography of what was going on. It's kind of, some of those pictures, I have to admit, are kind of gruesome, but this is what happened to our people, and the world needs to know, and we need to get this kind of information out. So that's just played a great role in getting those things documented for us. Also, he hired a vice president by the name of John C. Dancy. Now, John C. Dancy was also a politician and a journalist from North Carolina, and he bounced back and forth between DC. He too was also a member of the AME Zion Church. He was an editor for the newspaper called, Star Zion. So he was saying he was a very, he was held at high regard. I think he was one of the Treasury Committee secretaries on I want to say President McKinney, but special thing about this brother right here is he was a part of the colored conventions movement. And he's a Secretary of State of the Republican Convention, through the 1880s. So this brother was very, very influential within his community. Very influential. And I believe also he was one, he founded a company that let me in my notes. He founded the Coleman Manufacturing Company. This was the first cotton mill in the United States owned and operated by African Americans. So we see these people, our ancestors, making very big moves and strides to improve the environment of their people. Peace, Jade. I see you joined in. How you doing, sis?
Peace, I'm good. How are you?
I'm just going over right now, John C. Dancy and the National Afro-American Council kind of highlight some of the things they did. And, we can build and discuss on it.
Mm-hmm.
So John C. Dancy, again, another pivotal black man within this organization. So this organization continues to be, leading the charge and improving the environment for black folks and within this country. Another thing about John C. Dancy I want to go over was I want everyone to look up the Wilmington Insurrection of 1898. Now, this is an important thing in our history, in our story. Now, the situation to give a kind of an overview was there was an elected, there was some black folks in office, and the other population didn't like it. And to what it soon was pretty much a coup d'etat. They overthrew this locally elected government to where this man had to take flight and go back to DC because they wanted to kill all of these publicly elected individuals. And this highlights the anger and European Americans at the time. When you go back and study Reconstruction, these black folks, we were making moves. We were involved in our local politics. We were owning businesses. We was building wealth for ourselves. And there was some resentment behind that. So things were enacted to keep a black man, black woman from getting a job or voting, owning property. They had to find ways to stifle that growth. So, and the history of Wilmington is known as an originally an all black town. If you go to Wilmington right now, they shoot movies there. I think a popular show way back in the day, Dawson's Creek, they filmed that in Wilmington, North Carolina. But Wilmington, Durham, those cities were, black cities, and through gentrification, and now you go there, you hardly don't see that many African Americans in that part of town. So, after the same situations that happened to the Afro-American League start happening to the council, where, because of funding and issues within the group, people split off, and you see W.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells becoming some of the founders of the NAACP. And that same ideology of improving the situation of our people continues with the NAACP. Then later on, you see, the Booker T. Washington's and, his strife between him and W.B. Du Bois. Jay, are you familiar with the issue between W.B. Du Bois and Booker T?
No, I'm not actually. I just know about Du Bois and Garvey.
It was the ideology, and I told Brother Danny, it's probably this is if we were going to watch any debate, it would be the debate between Booker T and W.B. Du Bois on what they feel like was the better way ahead for Africans in America. Booker T. Washington was more people study the Atlanta Compromise. He kind of told blacks that, hey, listen, let's just accept the fact that we are in the position that we in, and instead of I wouldn't say fighting it, but instead of maybe play victim, let's find ways to let's teach ourselves how to build. Let's get into agriculture. Let's get into
I think he was more like a more practical sort of, we're in the situation, but let's try and be as practical as we can be.
Right.
For the situation that we're in.
Right. So, everyone knows about Tuskegee and Booker T. Washington. He created a mini nation down in Tuskegee. They was learning how to make the buildings that they were going to school in. They built those buildings. So they had individuals learning how to masonry. They was growing some of their own food. They had their own security force. So he had a mini nation there. And a lot of individuals kind of saw that as, you were playing second class citizen. One of those men being W.B. Boys, but also William Monroe Trotter. William Monroe Trotter started a newspaper to almost just beat on some of the ideologies of Booker T. But I mean, in my opinion, I see it like this. Booker T was showing us how to go back to being self-sustaining. So let's get the basics down. Let's learn how to grow our own food, make our own clothes, build our own homes, build our own businesses, start our own businesses.
Well, I mean, from what it sounds like, it's like the foundation of the do for self separation that Elijah Muhammad preached.
In a sense,
because as much as you're not going to get the respect, we haven't got the respect yet. So again, rather than trying to politic yourself into a system which doesn't like you, which doesn't want to accept you, you just separate and do your own thing. And it's not a thing of, you're putting yourself lower than them. It's just they're not going to provide anything. We're not allowed to go into their establishments. So what are we doing sitting around trying to politic our way in? So yeah, I mean, in that sense, Booker T's way, I mean, to me, that just seems more reasonable. W.E.B. Du Bois seems more like sort of doing it in the Martin Luther King kind of way of if we're nice enough, or if we speak to them nicely enough, or if we're more elegant with our words, we'll get what we want.
Right. Be self. And again, that separation is, we don't need to be with, okay, can you grow your own food? If JCPenney's closed right now, or Lenox Mall closed right now, will you be able to put clothes on your back? If Food Line, Whole Foods closed right now, will you be able to sustain yourself and grow your own food?
No, for most of us, we wouldn't be able to, especially for us that live in urban areas. You wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
So in that sense, then that makes you more of a slave.
God, we need them.
Because now you have to rely on these people to feed you. And as much as they don't like you, what's to say that they're going to feed you?
Exactly. So, and with now W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter, they were like, listen, we should be pushing, philosophy and, arts and craft, not arts and craft, but the artistic stuff, Plato, Aristotle, the higher level.
When you say artistic, what do you mean exactly by artistic?
It was more like, Beethoven, paintings by.
Oh, okay.
And, they wanted that higher level of learning. We should be pushing that to our people instead of teaching them pretty much to be, I don't know, maybe they thought lower of someone who's a farmer, but you got to think.
Well, that's the problem, you see. That's the problem.
Really want the same.
It's not practical.
It's not. I agree. I
don't. To me, yeah, that's problematic.
I kind of think these individuals came up different. But we know Booker T's history, how he born. They were born into slavery. W.E.B. Du Bois.
Mm-hmm.
Really, he didn't come up that way, so he was privy to the finer things in life, if you want to use that that term.
Right.
And mind you, one is in the South.
Yeah, and that's the problem, you see. The problem is like, it's like, for instance, you have the rich and you have the poor. And the rich look down on the poor and say, if they could, go to study the things that we've studied, i.e., how to grow something on the moon or something that's not practical. But then the poor look at the rich like, how is what you're learning really going to help you in life? It's not practical. That's the problem. They're in two different spaces because people like that have things given to them. They're not worrying about how to get. They just know that they have, or they can get easy. Whereas poor people have to figure out how to get. And that's the problem. That's like the Booker T versus the Du Bois. Is that Du Bois had, Booker T needed, and had to find.
Great. I see it as nation building. To me, it seems like Booker T was into nation building. And I think, and we know how, the government likes to play, we know about COINTELPRO and how they like to, create spin and, turn us against each other. There was an individual, I want to say his name was Thomas Dixon Jr., but he wrote the book called The Klansman and the Leopard Spots, but he was for slavery. He viewed us as nothing. And I think he was in Philadelphia as well. And he was also writing. I don't know if he was writing for the Guardian. I don't want to misspeak. Probably have to ask Danny, or I'll research it myself. But I don't know. He was writing for the Guardian, William Monroe Trotter's paper, also talking down on Booker T. Washington and his ideology of, agriculture, manufacturing. Let's get ourselves in order, and show them that we can be respectable people on our own without their help, without their assistance.
Right. And that's the problem, you see, and that's still the issues that we're facing now, basically, where you have the people who say it's still pretty much the same situation. Things haven't changed in that sense. I guess the only thing is that now it's just there's the Booker T ideology, but there's a Du Bois ideology, and it's been put into practice more rather than the Booker T ideology being put into practice more. But I mean, at this point, in my opinion, the Booker T way is the only way to go. We've tried the W.E.B. Du Bois way, right? That's been going on for how long? Even in the UK, same thing.
But it just goes back to, back again to the organization, and highlighting with the Afro-American League and the Afro-American Council, we see, regardless of these people's ideology, they were willing to come together underneath one banner to get to a common task. We wasn't too lost with who we were as far as our identity. It wasn't calling themselves the Afro-Indian League or Afro-Indian Indigenous, Council. These people knew exactly who they were.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the thing. There was a common goal. Something was necessary for everybody. That was the point. But I mean, when it comes to labeling stuff as, let's say, the Afro-Indian or the Afro-Indigenous or that kind of stuff, that's the labeling people, and then that's where all the problems come in. Is when you're telling someone who they are, who they know that they're not.
Right.
Like, I think you spoke about that from before. It's like, if you're telling me, no, you are indigenous, and I say to you, no, I'm not. I don't want to be a part of what you're a part of then. Because I know that what you are, I'm not. So that causes that's sort of the point of contention for today with a lot of things. Because, like, for instance, you have all these different groups and stuff that all do stuff for just each other and not for everybody. Or they say they do it for everybody, but there might be a slight persuasion towards people that believe the same thing as you.
You gotta be a member.
Whereas before it was just Whereas before it was just, we're all in this situation. We need this now. It doesn't matter that from the 1920s you had the Moorish Science Temple. They don't care if you're Moor or whatever. We all have this problem. We need this help.
I mean, that's what the church does. You got to pay, that's why you got ATMs in the back of churches, though. They'll kick you out if you don't pay your tithes. Jesus need money too.
That's crazy.
It got away from, okay, I need to make sure we got something set aside. So if something happens to a member of the community, we can make sure his family is straight. Them babies got some money to take care of themselves. They got away from that.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's where things like credit unions and treasuries and stuff like that, organizations could come into play. That's where that kind of stuff would come in, so that you can have money put away for certain things. Like I get from what I've read, because I'm trying to see about how to start up a credit union. It's like with a credit union, you can have specific focuses and goals, whereas a bank is sort of to serve everybody. A credit union is like you have a common bond. So people that join the credit union have a particular thing in common. So that's somewhere where it can start with, right, we all have this issue. We put our money here. If one of us dies, okay, we can take some money out, and some money goes towards the family, help with the funeral costs, bereavement, all that kind of stuff. Any debts that the deceased has left, all that kind of stuff. All of that has gone now, and then you've got, like, let's say you've got the NOI, and the NOI is quite large in comparison to other groups. So the NOI say, right, well, in the NOI, if you die, we take care of you, but you're not going to see, or at least I haven't seen, some random black person has died and the NOI has come in to help. Get what I mean?
Right.
And that's an issue.
I mean, that's capitalism. I mean, this the way the society set up. I mean, you're prone to have those individuals who only are in this to stay in their pockets.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We can still put the money. See, you can still put the money together and still use it for a social goal. You get what I mean? So, like, you can still. Credit union isn't necessarily for profit, but it's just a place to put money for situations and stuff like that. That would be the point. But yeah, I think people have just done it as a way to capitalize on other people. So it's sort of one group against the other. For those who aren't in the group, you're trying to get one over on, or unless you join our group, then you can reap the benefits of what we have, which is wrong, which wasn't the point.
Right. Speaking of the bank, I'm gonna highlight again something the brother Danny, the true story, and I mentioned earlier was the Penny Savings Bank, founded by.
Yeah, I was reading that. That was really good.
I mean, for the people who didn't catch it earlier in the stream, was Danny talked about the Penny Savings Bank in Birmingham, Alabama. Founded by William Reuben Pitterford. 1890. He was the first black-owned and black-operated financial institution in Alabama. He's in the heart of it.
It goes to show you as well that even back then there was that drive for trying to construct something, so it wasn't just, we're out of slavery, we kind of don't know what to do. There's always been that thing there, and again, having a penny savings bank it's always possible, but it has to be accessible for everybody.
Like it's for the people.
It's definitely not hard. It has to. That's all it has to be, just for the people.
Wells Fargo. I don't have to go to Wells Fargo. If you have a bank, I can just come and get my services via your bank. And that's that way of in black dollars in the black community right there.
With the only thing with banks though is that banks are required to technically loan to anybody. So that's why I've been looking into credit unions, because credit unions are for people with a common bond. So, like, let's say, right, I go to an Indian bank. If they are a bank, if I fit the criteria to receive a loan, let's say, it will be illegal for them to reject me on the grounds that I'm not Indian, per se. You get what I mean? So with banks, you kind of give your money out in that way. So you sort of put your money in and your money goes out to anyone. But with credit unions, your money is in there for you.
I mean, let them shop with us. I mean, I have a bank account with Navy Federal Credit Union. And the only way to get that account is, you had to serve in the armed forces, or you were a family member of someone who served in the armed forces. I definitely agree with you on the credit union.
Right, because you have a common bond there. So it's people that can relate to the purpose of the credit union. But yeah, I mean, we can have banks, but I think credit unions would be good for our particular purposes, what we need, what we're trying to achieve, agendas and so forth. That would be the purpose of the credit union. So I was reading up on history of credit unions, and it's like you can have a credit union for, let's say, a small community, a whole street, or a few streets. So this is First, Second, and Third Street Credit Union, and this credit union will provide the needs for the community if there needs to be any repairs, um, random deaths, anything that the money is needed for. Money is put aside for that kind of thing. But then banks would be like, let's say, a state to state thing or country to country thing.
Keeping the black dollar in the black community. So,
Right.
like, how much will it be if you wanted to set up a, what are some of the things you have to have?
I was reading for the UK, you need 100K, which is reasonable. Because I was reading about how to start a bank, and for a bank you need 1 million. So credit union is okay. You need about 100,000. You need about a team of 15 to 20 people, a premises. Go for some training. They provide training. Um, equipment. You need dedicated staff. And that's pretty much it, really. And you obviously need like a group of people who have invested into the credit union and say, yeah, we want to get this started. You need people to start opening up accounts. So that's pretty much a credit union in the UK.
I mean, that's just one of the ways that we can create commerce within the African community. You know, me and you were chatting earlier about how saying like in the next 10 years, it needs to. I will hope that this looks different. The way that
Yeah, and it's possible.
it's
It's
possible
really possible. It's not that hard.
is that we don't have to reach back to ideologies of antiquity to come up with ways to do it. We can reach back, you know, 1850s, 1900s. We can reach back that far and just see how some of our ancestors went about it. You know, I know some of us don't, and we don't have to start with
Hmm.
trying to pinky and brain and take over the world. But what I can say, we can start with our households. Then move down the hallway and see if you can start meeting and being with the people because we may need to get back to that. Being communal, getting back, building with our people, going to events, linking up, discussing, building, having conversations, getting to know each other one again.
Right.
Get out,
Oh, that's
get
that's where things like unions come into play. So like one union that I've been looking at is the Igbo union. So they get together, they have their events, they go on trips. They have their own language school, cookery school, stuff like that. So you're getting people from all over London, Igbo people coming together, being able to do things together, build with each other, speak with each other, do business with each other. And then the benefits of that union is that you get discounts in other places. You can meet other people, conversate with other, sorry, not conversate, converse with other people, and all that kind of stuff. That's where unions come in. And I mean, it's not just, you don't just have like, black unions. You've got other European unions, like the UK has Polish unions, Romanian unions. You've got all kinds of unions. It's things like that we need.
find a ways to
But I
keep it.
guess like the best thing would,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the best thing to do is put an incentive as to why people should join the union, because we try and unite over stuff, and then someone gets upset and then the whole thing just falls apart.
Another we don't need, and if we do have, one of the things that when I was studying the, Afro-American League and Afro-American Council was there was definitely some internal beef going on between some of its members. Now, whether it be through it was some religious or they didn't like a necessary plan. I would say we do have discourse or have beef with each other instead of hopping on any other platform or social media organization. It needs to be like a real face to face. One thing I can say about NOI is that they have these conflict resolution centers. I know there's the one around me. I don't know if it's sponsored by NOI, but I know the brother that runs it, is in the nation. but we can link up there and talk and build and have a discussion rather than put our emotions and feelings outside for the public to dissect and then use to overthrow both of us. So we back at square one.
Right. And I mean, there's always been that saying of whatever happens at home will stay at home. So anything behind those doors, that's where it stays. If there's an issue, you resolve it inside. You don't go outside and try and get either outside help or, put your business out of Front Street where everyone can have an opinion. And then that can just change everything. That is where everyone can get an opinion in what's happened. And we don't seem to do that anymore. We just have the saying. But we don't go by the saying anymore.
No, like I don't need
That's the problem.
I'm beefing with my if I'm beefing with my brother, the world don't need to know that. That's family business. That's family business. When we leave that, my grandfather used to make us go in the backyard and fight. You had to get it in, and then when it was all over, he made you hug each other, and you went back in the house, and he didn't want to hear nothing else about it. So and no one,
It's the
else,
right way,
no
really.
one else knew what was going on. That was our family business. We were strong. We were stronger doing that.
I mean, I think with this social media, I think the social media's played a huge part as well in ruining the way that we resolve conflicts, because you might have an issue with someone that's, different state or even different country, different part of the world completely. So you're not able to address that person how you would. So you have no choice but, well, I mean, I say you have no choice, but the only way that you can think of is to go on YouTube and make a diss video and then going back and forth because you can't get to the person. You haven't got their number. You don't know them like that to have their number. I think that's also a problem, is the social media aspect. So you can reach out to people, but when a problem comes up, you can't handle it as a normal person.
I mean, it's emotional now. You arguing, you cussing your family out. You don't think they're paying attention to that. You don't think the individuals who want to see our demise, who want to see us falter, who don't want to see us get our head above the water, they won't use that against us. Like it seems simple in my opinion. We can't let you know these ideologies, these schools of thought, whether it be any religion. That's if you're dealing with any religion that take you away from your people, who make you turn your back on your people just because they don't follow it, you know.
Well, I mean, Malcolm said you leave that at the door. You leave your religion at home. You don't bring that here. We're just here on this agenda. If you're not on this agenda, then you don't need to be here. Just go. That's what it is. But it's because now people have taken on the thing of, if you don't believe what I believe, then we can't work together because I say that you're an Israelite and we're all Israelites, and if you don't believe this, you're going to hell. You're going to burn on the day of judgment. All that, all that kind of stuff that they say.
Right. I was watching the stream with brother
So,
Garner earlier in the Dagger Squad piece of them brothers, and the guy was like, "Listen, I can't build with you if you a non-believer. Like
right.
we can't even have a discussion. We can't have a friendly dialogue back and forth if I'm not a
But
believer."
what doesn't make sense is that the fact that before you decided that you were Israelite or whatever you are, you were the same as everybody else.
Absolutely.
Then you've gone and put yourself somewhere else completely, knowing that you're the same people. But now I can't speak to you because you don't believe as I believe. When you're just a convert, it's like I knew about some guy that converted to Islam and told his grandmother that she's going to hell because she's a non-believer. One guy I knew
Somebody
converted
said
to
what?
Islam. He converted to Islam and told his grandma who raised him, "You're going to hell because you're a non-believer."
Mm,
It's things like that.
I don't even know what
So it's like when you add religion and the people's destinies and lives, and that just complicates it even more. And that's why when it comes to sort of joining over religion in a sense, it just doesn't work very well. But basically, if you don't believe as I believe, and you're going to hell, and you're going to die, and you're going to, burn in a lake of fire and all that kind of stuff.
I wish I
That
would.
gets us nowhere.
I mean, I damn near wouldn't even talk back to my grandma, more or less. Tell her that, who do you think you are going up to your grandma telling her that, she wrong? That goes back to that respect for our elders. Your grandma,
Right.
you wouldn't even be walking around if it wasn't for this woman. You understand? Especially this woman
But that's
raised
what people do. I mean, that's
me.
the that's
Grandmother
the
raised
thing. People get
me,
this stuff and they just lose their minds.
you know.
Or in some ideologies, the woman isn't as important as the man, or she's less than the man. So she doesn't matter about what the woman thinks, and then that conflicts with other people's ideologies. So then other people can't get together with other people because you don't think women are important. We think women are important. It's just that religious aspect of how basic things are is what makes it hard. But
Like, do you think
I
I
think
take
in previous times,
what your religion was?
hmm?
No, I'm just saying for the people who go to their grandmother and tell them that they wrong. A child looking up at their mother and telling them that that the mother's wrong. Do you think Octavius Cotto cared what your religion was? You think he had a pamphlet? You know what I'm saying? You think he was asking people? No, he's saying you was his people. So regardless of what your
Right,
religion was, he helped you. Alexander Waters, they didn't care what your religion was. You know,
because you
they
were
knew
in the same predicament.
in the same predicament. We sitting here with arguing over who changed a lighter. We all in, what I'm saying, mentally, some of us are still in chain. We arguing over things that don't really matter. Things that's already proven to be fallacies, already proven to be fallacious.
I mean,
Like we still gonna
sometimes I think,
keep with your brother.
like, I think sometimes. Oh, sorry, Sineb, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, go ahead, sis. My fault.
I was gonna say sometimes I feel like with us not being in physical slavery anymore, and the whole civil rights and everything that's we're coming up to now, because there's not that sense of urgency. Everybody's more complacent, and so when you're complacent, you're not urged to do as much because you haven't got the gun pointing at your face. You think, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. This isn't urgent. I think it's just the lack of urgency is what's caused a lot of this. So it's like you have time to argue about Bible and scripture and who's going to hell. That sense of urgency is missing. Back in the 1700s and 1800s and early 1900s, there was that urgency, like things needed to be done because the gun was still being pointed at our faces. Whereas now it's like, okay, the gun's still being pointed at us, but we have enough time to potentially dodge the bullet if we're lucky enough. That's what it's come up to, in my opinion.
We know the nature. We know who our enemies are. If you continue to put yourself in situations that will have that enemy, to have full control over you and your movement, we gotta move.
But when you say we, who's we?
What you mean?
Who? When you say we know who our enemy is, who's we?
Oh, us as Black people in America know who for hundreds and hundreds of years.
How many?
See, that's the thing of us who identify themselves as, who we are African. Some don't consider themselves
Because
that.
right, but what I'm saying is like, okay, we can say, after civil rights, a lot of people, you can say that have just completely wiped any wrongdoing that's happened.
Yeah.
So they don't know, or they should know. They should know better, but they don't. So they don't bother. So to them, oh, that's just the white people. It's not a race thing.
No.
Because I'm sure that people with our sort of mindset are a minority. I'm definitely sure of that.
I
And I
mean,
don't think the minority can topple the majority.
those individuals that see, they made it. Their family's good. Their kids got good schooling. If I did it, why can't you do it? It's not that, you know, I am because we are. We move as a unit, as a family. I'm not good unless all of my people can have access to adequate health care, adequate education. You shouldn't be, 40, $30,000 in debt trying to go educate yourself and then can't go find a job and you can't go back to that school to get your money back because the product they sold you isn't working. So it seems like we got
Hmm.
to have more platform, not necessarily not a platform because YouTube is not mine. More pages like this that kind of help teach and kind of lead people in the right direction. Kids, and like I said, the youth is the next. We got to get the youth. You know,
Yeah, because it's getting worse. It's getting worse. My
like
generation, I pretty much give up on my generation, and the next generation, I don't know what they're going to be like. With the way that things are going now, and the lack of intervention and just leadership, who knows what the next generation are going to be like?
I mean, I can understand why because I've been there. I understand. You in dire situations. You don't see any hope. You don't see any way ahead to the future. You have inadequate education. You don't have nowhere to find a job. I mean, it's all the ingredients of a lost society. But in my opinion, I can
I mean,
see
I think that
it's getting better. It's going to get better, in my opinion.
I mean it will. I'm just trying to be more realistic, but I think that also people that are skilled, because it's not like you know like people have no skills whatsoever, not like skilled workers, professionals, career people. People who have skills and professions shouldn't just go live in their house and I'm doing good. I always encourage apprenticing people, teaching them their skills, taking them on, teaching them to be skilled workers and whatnot, so you can develop more tradespeople. Because tradespeople are who you need. You don't need moon doctors and crazy stuff like that. Stuff to do with space.
The Booker T model.
Like to me, someone that someone that's gonna go and learn how to learn about NASA and all that kind of stuff and all that rocket science. It's not necessary because you cannot breathe out there. You can't survive out there. You live here, so things that are here. So you need electricians, plumbers, builders, masons, um, farmers, fishermen, poultry rearers, all that kind of stuff
You need
is what's practical.
you're gonna need those doctors. You're gonna need those nurses. You're gonna need nation building, occupations. That's what we're gonna need, and that's why I don't want to pick and choose sides. Like I said, I just like certain aspects of each of it. You know what I'm saying? The boys had a good plan, and Washington had a good plan. I just like that aspect of Washington plan. Let's start from the bare metal. If everything crashed right now, will we be able to sustain ourselves? Could we be able to read a map, know how to navigate our surroundings? Can we grow our own food? Can we clean your own water? Can you make your own clothes? Those essential things. Okay, I can build my own house. I know how to be an electrician. I know how to wire power in the house.
Right. So it's like different levels. So you could say like um, Booker T is the foundation level, the survival, and then Du Bois is like the once you have your house in order, then you can go into the philosophy and the arts and the finer things, and once you have everything sorted. But going the boys' way first, and then the Booker T, it doesn't make any sense. It's not practical. Because
Build
then that's where you wait. That's where you can waste the most time. You haven't got time to talk all day. You really don't in this kind of time. Now stuff needs to be built because things aren't going how they should have been going. Everything was given up. We black. Where's the black economy? Where is it?
right.
Politicking and talking about philosophy isn't going to bring back an economy. It's just going to waste more time that you could have spent building something.
You go through that. You have a couple of generations through, the Booker T model. They'll have knowledge of self, but also have those basic food, clothing, shelter. They'll have that mastered. And since you're absolutely correct, then you can move on. You know?
Right, yeah, it's like it's levels. You can see from looking at Booker T's beginnings and Du Bois's upbringings. You can see that Booker T was, at the lowest of the low, and Booker T was, sorry, not Booker T, sorry, Du Bois was higher. So it's like you can see the levels of foundation to sort of the highest point that you could get at that time. So what Du Bois is trying to do, from what I can understand, is he's telling people that are sadly on the sort of the lower end of the spectrum, you need to do what I'm doing. However, they need to learn how to survive for themselves, because I'm sure that Du Bois could take care of himself, right? He didn't have to do the things that Booker T had to do. Hello?
I'm saying as far as Booker T in his beginnings, born into slavery, not knowing, there's some text that say he didn't know the year he was born. His father was some other, European that lived somewhere else that came in and probably raped his mama and had him.
Right.
He was still.
Whereas Du Bois didn't go through that.
Right.
So he's on the upper. He had things, I guess you say, handed to him. He didn't have to toil and work as hard as Booker T had to. So it would be wrong for Du Bois to tell you, well, all you have to do is this, and you'll be like me, because it doesn't work like that. Because as much as you're up there, people had to work for you to get what you have, i.e., to manufacture what you have. So if you want everything, how stuff's going to get manufactured? You can't buy everything from China. You're taking away from your products, from what you could produce, and just giving your resources away to another place that will eventually take over what you have, which they're doing already. So we've been doing it the wrong way.
That's definitely a debate. Those two brothers were alive. That's definitely a debate I'm willing to, listen to and really take notes from, because there's definitely elements of both of those main ideology that we can use and put in motion to change in our community. I have to agree.
I mean, I guess it would be sort of the Martin and Malcolm, with Martin being Du Bois and Malcolm being Booker T. It's the same kind of thing. Because I feel like Malcolm was more practical. Martin did very, very good things, very practical, the bus boycott, all the other things that he did. But it was, to me, it was more the politics that he went with, rather than sort of the grassroots people down, in the muck, trying to get people up from the ground. It's the same kind of thing. You'll always have that duality.
Yes.
But that duality will come again. That's coming next 10 years, next 15 years, I'm sure.
I mean, with the way, with the temperature of I can far as speak, for on the American side, I mean, you can see it. Tensions are very high. It's starting to get around the world. Like I posted that pic in the back check of, I want to say that was the Germany team. They took a knee during the.
Let me see. You posted it in the back chat?
Yeah, I think it was earlier today, yesterday, I believe. But yeah, they kneeled. Oh, let's see if I got it. Yeah, players from Hertha Berlin and German Premier League took knee in solidarity of Colin Kaepernick and American athletes protesting injustice. Your brother Sean King.
Hold on. Oh right, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, the brother Sean King posted that.
Yeah, I see it. So yeah, I mean that's been spreading. They were when the NFL were here, they were kneeling as well.
Oh, really?
But,
Like,
yeah, they were kneeling, but
really?
strangely enough, stood for "God Save the Queen," which was just ironic. But were you saying something?
No, no. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was just weird that they kneeled for the U.S. national anthem, but then stood for "God Save the Queen,"
Mm,
which just baffles me.
interesting. If the queen,
But I guess,
Brown's hands is clean in this as well.
sorry, say that again.
No, as if those hands are clean on that side of the water. As if Europe itself didn't have anything to do with the transatlantic slave trade.
Well, no, I mean the UK is the mother of America, so that's just what really confused me. Because I'm thinking, okay, so you're gonna stand for "God Save the Queen," the country that basically caused all of this,
Mm.
but you'll sort of, kneel for the child of the UK. I don't know. Maybe people just weren't thinking back far enough historically. I don't know. I just found it really ironic.
That
But
is
yeah,
it.
this is the place that birthed all of this.
What do you say, sis?
No, so the UK, this place in particular, is sort of like the birth of this stuff. So the UK, strange enough, as late as the UK came into slavery, they were the one that continued it for the longest, and then morphed it into something else. Even though it was still slavery, but they kind of morphed it and kept it going. And then you had the British Empire and colonialism, and that stayed on for however long. But it's just people just have amnesia, or they just don't know. Ignorance is bliss.
Or they don't care.
Well, I mean, you'd have to care. You would have to care because the people here are the reason why America is the way that it is. Had Britain have never done what it had done, or to the extent of what it had done, things wouldn't be nowhere near as bad as they are now. And that's the problem. Because people kind of forget Europe. Like when you think of slavery, I mean, people kind of talk on, England and France and Spain and Portugal, but they don't really get deep into the history. And when you actually get deep into the history, you'll see that Europe, in that sense, was worse than America.
I mean, the Portuguese, the Dutch. I mean, in West Africa alone. I mean, Africa period. I mean, you can just see, causing, highlighting internal frictions that were already there, playing both sides of the fence, manipulating certain events that happen in certain tribes or people to turn on each other,
Yep.
exploiting it to their benefit, to say, I won't trade with you unless you have a Christian monarch, setting the stage for what was going to eventually be, the taking of people's mind via that book.
Right. So they do the damage at home, and then they've done the damage abroad. And I think people forget that they started off in Africa, spread to the Caribbean, then to, the what's known as the US. So they did their damage everywhere. Not to mention what they did sort of in Asia, and I mean I'm not too versed in Asian history, but they went into Africa, turned people against each other. I mean, look at the Rwandan genocide with the Belgians. I think it was the Belgians or the Spanish. One of the two. You turn two groups against each other. Tell one group that I think one was more Caucasian-like, so they favored them more.
Right.
And then what they do? They step out and then clash. These two groups end up causing a genocide while they sit back and watch.
Sit back and watch, and they orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah, but that's typical European divide and conquer, and then sit back and watch the show.
Right. And that's
It's like,
that community.
Congo, the same thing. Yeah, Congo is the same thing with the Belgians. You've got it's weird to like hear some Africans refer to themselves as they're French or they're Belgians or they're Portuguese, like Angolans and stuff. I've heard Angolans say that they're Portuguese, which just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you carrying a name, and a lot carry names of the Portuguese. You know.
I carry the name of English. I know exactly where my surname came from in the UK, but that doesn't make I'm not English. That I find that really bizarre. But it's like the issue with someone let's say that's from the Dominican Republic or someone that's from Latin America that calls themselves Spanish when
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not Spanish, they're not Spaniards.
Right, but they carry Spanish last names. That's why they carry the Spanish language. That's why they misnomer and categorize themselves as something that they're not. That their origin, their people doesn't go back to that. So I find it just as
Right,
weird.
yeah, because the Spaniards don't respect them
No,
whatsoever. I mean, I don't think Spain during Hurricane Irma gave a shit about Puerto Rico and we have to get these resources to our former colony. They don't give a shit.
I
You're
found
not Spaniards, so they don't care.
I found something interesting. I want to say it was the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, so I can find it. But they're trying to. I want to say they're doing a transfer of power for the Virgin Islands.
Really?
I was going
Oh,
to.
what from the Dutch? Are they giving it back to the Dutch?
No, I believe the Dutch are giving it fully to. I think I'm trying to find it right now. I was going to send it to you, but I forgot to get your opinion on it.
I thought that the Dutch relinquished all their power to the US when it came to the Virgin Islands,
Yeah,
or their Dutch Virgin Islands.
I gotta try to find it. I forgot where I saw it at. I thought I saved it, but yeah, pretty much he gave a speech
Oh,
and
okay.
he pretty much admitted to what they did in the past was wrong, and saluting pretty much the African people who fought back. I gotta look for it.
Or are they paying up or no?
No, that was the thing of the post. It was like, okay, we take, you said an apology, but what about, reparations? The
Mm.
wealth that you were able to build off the backs of our ancestors, where is the payment for that? So it kind of made pretty much his long speech, void. They were thinking
Well, I mean,
he's gonna find a way
when it
to.
comes to reparations with Europe, the problem is Europe would probably go completely bankrupt. They wouldn't have anything left because let's say you're not only paying, parts of West Africa that you took, but now you've got to do America, Central America, Caribbean, and South America, as well as Asia, because then the Asians are going to want in on what they're owed and stuff like that as well. So they're not going to really entertain the money conversation because Europe is going through hell
I'll threw it in the back chat
economically. Okay, let me see.
in this chat right here. I'm gonna try to actually send you the link to it so you can go.
Oh, the Danish.
Oh, that's what.
Oh, yeah, the Danish had the Virgin Islands.
First, and then they
And
told
that's the thing as well. A lot of people don't realize that the Danish and also the Swedish had a part. I can't remember the islands that the Swedish had, but the Danish and the Swedish also played a part
yeah, I think the Danish
in
had
slavery.
Troy, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they sold it to the U.S. for 20
Yeah.
million in gold, 1917. Yep.
Let me see what island the Swedish had.
And it is, these people didn't ask to be American citizens. You know, just like Cuba, they didn't ask to be American citizens. The Philippines, you know,
Oh, was the Philippines American?
I want to say the Spaniards had the Philippines. I want to say after the Spanish War, they
Yeah, the Spaniards did. Yeah, they did.
Spanish relinquished command. They gave it to the U.S. But these people didn't ask for citizenship. Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans didn't ask for citizenship. It was imposed on them. And the fact that we got some of our brothers and sisters that are in Puerto Rico who have a bottle of water per family, one bottle of water. You know.
Mm. Okay, right. So you had the Swedish West India Company as well.
Which
So see, huh?
which islands did they have?
The Swedish had the following islands. Give me a sec. So they temporarily controlled settlements of the Gold Coast, which is Ghana. Um, they had Saint Bartholomew, which is French now. Where's the list? I just had the list. Oh, give me a sec. I just had the list. I was just going to click something. I think they had. Okay, they tried to settle in Tobago, which was then taken by the British. I think they tried to get Guadeloupe. So they were basically trying to take a lot of French places. St. Kitts. Uh, they had what's it say? The colony. No, I'll read this paragraph. So the settlement was actually an invasion of New Netherlands since it was Dutch territory. The founder and governor, Peter Minuit, who was Swedish, had been the Director General of the New Netherlands from 1626 to 1633. Disgruntled after being dismissed from his post, he led a Swedish expedition to a location which he knew to be strategic, as well as a thorn in the side of his former employers. Minuit died on a return trip from Stockholm in a hurricane near St. Kitts. The colony would then establish Fort something I can't pronounce north of present-day Salem, New Jersey as well. So a lot of people forget about the Swedish. Yeah, I'll put something in the back chat.
Okay, hold on, let me go to it. No, I was saying you'd be surprised how much the Dutch was able to do. Seeing about how big they were. Swedish. I got it, Jay.
You got it.
Yep. Swedish Gold Coast.
So even the Swedish had a hand in the slave trade as much as. I mean, I never even knew. Again, it was just sort of more you think of Western Europe, but not Northern Europe.
I mean, they're north. They're very much in the north. Very much.
Yeah,
So.
Sweden is like the top of the earth,
Pretty
basically.
Much. Yeah. I mean, that's a long. Let's imagine how you coming from a warm tropical location, and next thing you know, I don't even know how many miles that is away from, the Gold Coast area all the way to Sweden. But it has to be a long way.
I mean, in flight, you're probably looking at about 8 hours. So you think about boats back then. That's a long way.
Long way.
But I think that probably what they would have done is leave Sweden, arrive sort of in Scotland, travel through, or down the side of the UK, and then traveled sort of through Europe that way, rather than go all the way around past Norway, through Ireland, and then head south and then east.
I mean, just looking at
I think that they would have had to travel through.
Seems difficult. So I mean,
I'm just reading over this now. It says so later on the local population started a successful uprising against their new masters, and in December 1660, the king of the Akan people subgroup Efutu again offered Sweden, oh God, control over the area. The new expedition was sent to the colony, which remained under Swedish administration only for a short period. Von something that I can't pronounce was reappointed as administrator. Jeez. Swedish Africa Company as well. I'll put that in the back chat.
Yeah, I see one of the areas they had was Kingdom of Ashanti and Gold Coast.
And up until today, I've never heard of that history.
Yes, I would have never thought of Sweden unless you brought it up. So thanks for that information.
Oh, no problem.
I'll do some research on these the Swedish African Company. See how many were they transporting back to, Sweden if they wasn't dealing directly with the Americas.
I doubt it. I don't think that really.
I mean, they had tobacco.
We can survive in places like Sweden.
Oh, I mean, I'm looking at it on a map. Good grief! I mean, you're over Russia.
Yeah, it's cold. It's really cold up there. I mean, I've been to Norway and like that's not survivable weather unless you're from there. I don't think you can survive it. Right, but the Swedish Africa Company was formally abolished in 1663 after West India Company paid compensatory damages to the Swedes. So it sounds kind of like maybe they got bought out
by the Dutch West India.
Perhaps. It doesn't say actually. It just says the West India Company. Maybe it is the Dutch. Yeah, it was the Dutch. It was the Dutch West India Company. You also had the Danish Africa Company. So the Danish West India Company or Danish West India Guinea Company was a Dano-Norwegian chartered company that exploited the colonies in the Danish West Indies. I swear, when I go to, I'm going to be going to West India Docks as part of my next, leg of the tour. And I'm sure that they'll have some history on that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I definitely watched. I think I lost you when you went underneath the tunnel when you was on the subway. I lost you. I went back and watched. You went to Equiano's house. Was that his house, correct?
Yeah, I literally got there because I had someone kept texting me. It was killing my battery, so I stepped right in front of the house and then my phone died.
Oh, did you put? I think you posted a picture in the 690 Media chat, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I'm saying,
yeah, I did.
City of Westminster. The African.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I was looking to see they put that at the bottom.
Yeah, they got a lot of history in Westminster.
Lived and published here in 1789. His autobiography on suffering the barbarity of slavery, which paved the way for its abolition. They got that thing locked down. Can you go in there and look in the house, or you
No, they've turned that building into, I don't even know what they're doing, something to it. It doesn't look anything like something that was kept as history. It's just they've left the plaque there, but they've changed that into something else now. So no, unfortunately, you can't. I don't really know if there's any houses and stuff that have been left for any black people that were in the UK. It's just plaques that they leave around.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get downtown Atlanta. I posted a picture of they got a mural of Congressman John Lewis downtown Atlanta off Auburn Street. Next time I go down there, I'm gonna do this.
I think you posted that as well, didn't you?
I did. Next time I'm gonna go down there tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna try to record. I'm gonna try to go live. I'm off tomorrow, but I may get called in. So technically, I'm on call right now. So hopefully, normally I don't get no calls this late on a Sunday night, but. But I definitely want to walk around and kind of, there's other monuments in the city that's local to me that yeah, some of our ancestors and elders have, gotten and achieved. And I think I kind of like what we're doing, going around and bringing the information back to the people.
Yeah, it's surprising how much can be in someone's local area. Like being able to go to Marcus Garvey's house where he lived and died, and then going to Olaudah Equiano's house in Ignatius, in the area that Ignatius Sancho did business and stuff like that. There's a lot of names as well people haven't heard of, or there's info that they didn't know, or that
Right.
they didn't realize that they were so near to some history that you can have a look at, and it's free. You don't have to go too far.
You don't have to go too far. You don't have to read back too much in the history. We have, 100 years ago, we can go find something that we didn't know before. I was surprised with Ignatius Sanchez. I didn't, without you, I wouldn't know anything about him. So again, I appreciate you bringing that information back and throwing it. Check out doing some studying of him and Octavius Cotto.
Yeah, his history is interesting. He's got really interesting history in the UK.
So just let the people know
I think
that.
he was the first black person to vote in Parliament.
Really. So I mean, there's no point
Yeah, he
in
was. Yeah.
that we were not fighting or trying to maneuver in a way to better, the conditions of our people. We didn't go into this vacuum of darkness and wait. We were actively. We had family. We had ancestors that were actively trying to make a better way for the babies. So
Yeah, that's the thing. As soon as we were able to get to Europe and be able to get into power, so you had that freedom per se. You were able to build those connections with other people, join, because you had those groups. You had those groups where you can, put money together and try and get some sort of political movement going. That is where it started, and people kept fighting until they got what they needed, what they wanted. You had those black societies, secret societies, those poor societies as well to help people who couldn't do for themselves. There's all that history, but all we know is that there was slavery, and then we were poor, and we couldn't do much because we just come out of slavery and there was nothing to do. That's the history that I was taught pretty much from school.
So I think this was definitely a great bill. Speaking on early Black pioneers, I went over um, William Neal, went over William Monroe Trotter, Alexander Waters, Sister Ida B. Wells, all these men, John C. Dancy, all these men and women, you know, who history is not that far back. We can still reach it. And just want to highlight some of the things they did. I would definitely want to keep the momentum that we've been having from the MBK shows, your show, the Six Dynasty, shout out to Amadi's show, to keep, trying to bring relevant information, relevant history, kind of different from the status quo or what some of the shows provide, relevant history.
Definitely. And once you look into relevant history, you can see as to how recent we were still doing stuff. It's not like we just gave up and the only thing that we did good was 3,000, 5,000 years ago. We can still do stuff. And it's not so far out of time that, things that were done back then can't be done now. It's still the same thing, pretty much. 300, 200, 100 years ago.
Right. So, family that's out there that's listening, to my family in the chat, I appreciate you stopping by and tuning in with us. Food for Thought Sundays. I like to thank the Queen Jade for coming on and joining me.
No problem.
I
Very,
really,
very happy to.
I really do appreciate it. So next Sunday we're gonna keep building on this certain topic. Everyone excited, please tune in again to I Am Saying Kofa TV. Peace.